6:30, and I think we're gonna get started. Right? I don't know. I don't think anyone else is coming. Think we Gucci?
No one is watching.
Wait, do you have the same thing that Chris had? Cliff?
Maybe.
No.
No, I just gave it.
Oh, you just gave it to him.
Yeah, for the lab.
Oh, I was looking into the chipsets on those. Those are interesting chipsets.
Yeah.
They're not a Theros though.
Somewhere where there's no.
It makes me sad.
You got a demo.
Theros are nice.
You gotta use my trackpad and keyboard.
Oh, okay, cool. All right, well, wait, can I?
Yeah, you move it to the bottom and then right.
All right, let's kick it off. Don't need that. We have desks. Yeah, look at that. Fucking desks and chairs.
Look at Ryan cheesing.
Yeah, so the lab is coming together really nicely. So like I was saying earlier, we need to start looking at some of the stuff. Running Ethernet, making cables, creating a standard Debian image. So, well, this will be nice, but if we get fog up, I mean, we could just have one image and, PC boot all of them to that, and that'd be really nice. Setting up servers with OpenStack and, like I said, fog and, whatever else we could think of, Puppet for monitoring it all. But, lab's coming along nicely. It'll be a lot of fun. We need to really focus hard on getting the people that we have come to our meetings in the fall. The new people, we all need to try to make an attempt to talk to them, get them involved, and then see if they want to have responsibility, give them responsibility. If they want to run hog wild, we should let them run hog wild with the lab and do some stuff. Because we definitely, all of us need help. This is a big project. This is big. All right, so September 18th, I already have Roads 850D kind of done with and requested for this. The NSA is coming and they're showing an Enigma machine.
The NSA is coming. What a scary
NSA,
sentence.
yeah, I know, right? They're coming. But what's the Enigma machine? Have you guys been into any of the NSA's talks before on campus about the Enigma machine? Yeah?
Like one actually last week I was in DC.
That's really cool.
This is the old one, right? This isn't a new thing?
No, old, and World War II.
I was making sure that it wasn't like that.
But this is, so they're doing that presentation for everybody else, and then they're staying to specifically come and talk to Cyber at UC about it and probably answer Q&A on NSA scholarships, internships, what have not. They definitely want to get to know us more and stuff, which is really cool. And what Vicky says, we need to decide on the food we want. She says you're probably going to be pizzaed out, so what do we want? Figured we could throw out some ideas, B-dubs or whatnot. Keystone. Any preferences of food?
We could just do the Subway mini sandwiches or something.
Subway mini sandwiches, Panera mini
Keystone,
sandwiches.
Macaroni, that shit up.
It's good. I mean, I'd be down to request it. I don't know how expensive it is. Did you have a thought?
It's pretty.
Wings.
Keystone isn't too expensive.
Keystone ain't terrible.
I mean, if we got 50 plus people there, it's gonna be expensive.
Yeah, maybe.
Depends on how many people we got there. I hope we get that many people there. I'm thinking about trying to get an email put out to the general listserv, be like, hey, NSA, Enigma Machine, Cyber at UC, come check us out. Learn about Enigma Machine, meet our members, learn some cool shit, and get that sent out to everybody. And then also it'd be cool if we got an email sent out to the listserv talking about how we go up to high schools and you can get volunteer hours, because I don't know if you guys have seen the emails from some of the other organizations on listserv talking about how they get volunteer hours and stuff. We weren't on that list. So we need to get on that list so everyone sees us. It's important. Yep, so U.S. Bank visits in the works. I haven't heard back from Mike. Mike says that he hasn't heard back from U.S. Bank. So it's been a couple days since I've heard from him. So we definitely need to keep working along this, but I think it'd be awesome when we get to visit their SOC, the 13th floor of U.S. Bank building downtown. That'd be huge. We should definitely pitch that. Fall. Stebbins High School. Any of y'all heard of this place? Right? I have no clue about it. It's a place that reached out to Vicky Baker about their cyber program, and they want us to come and talk to them.
Where are they located?
In a little north of Dayton.
Oh, okay. That's why we haven't heard of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, none of us have gone there.
Wait, so it was an hour drive. Isn't terrible, right?
It's more than an hour's drive, I think, because I live.
Dayton?
Well, you said north of Dayton.
Not super north.
Well, no, but just to get to South.
It's gonna turn out that it's in Toledo.
It's 30, 40 minutes to get to South Dayton from where I live, and that's another 30, 40 minutes from here. depending on traffic.
Well, it could definitely be over an hour at
You're
least.
probably
But,
looking at an hour and a half to get north of Dayton.
but I think it'd be nice if we can go there and give them some content and whatnot, and just build that relationship up. You know, maybe some students would come to UC and then come to Cyber at UC, which would be awesome. This is the biggest one, and I mean, if you guys need scholarship money, or you're interested in an NSA internship or an NSA job or whatever, this is for everyone from undergraduate, high school students, graduate students. I mean, they have something for everybody on here. And I posted it in general and added the channel. There's a ton of information, and we should definitely try to, if any of us are really interested in have that opportunity or have that time. Like I'm working, so I can't necessarily leave my job. But if any of you guys are looking for a job, Hayden, I don't know if you looking for a job. I mean, they have a summer opportunity for like cyber operations and a whole bunch of other stuff. And what's her name? Heather, I think is her name. She's our liaison person for the Center of Academic Excellence for UC, and she said that she would help anybody in the chapter out like personally with this. So if you apply and Cyber at UC is on your resume or whatnot, then I think you might get bumped up the stack. This is awesome. It's gonna be like what applications have to be in by like October 1st, and some of them close at like September 1st or whatnot. So it's kind of like not the best timing for new students who are coming in, since UC starting a little later this year.
I will say you do need to get those in because like their summer internships, they finish like taking applications for those. I think at the latest I've seen late October is like the deadline for a summer internship with them. So
yeah, and all the deadlines are on that post I put in general. So definitely check it out. This is gonna be a lot of fun. Simpa Security meetup tomorrow. I'm going. Anyone else going? Ryan's going. You're going.
Possibly.
Maybe going. You guys want to come?
I'm working.
I got plans.
All right. But it's 6:30 p.m. at Victoria Drive, Springdale, Ohio. Free food. A bunch of other professionals in the cybersecurity industry around Cincinnati, and it's physical security night. So one of the members of SINPA sells lockpick sets. I bought a professional lockpick set. It's like $60, but they're also gonna have extra lockpicking sets there for like $15 for like the smaller ones. They say bring locks, bring picking sets if you have picking sets, and then I think it's gonna be like a lot of lockpicking and kind of just hanging out with a lot of other cool InfoSec professionals. So I had a great time when I went. It's good. So I'll shut up now and get to weekly content. Are we on this one again?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
but you can see it on there, which is kind of nice.
Mm-hmm. This is better than last week's.
Yeah. So we're going to start off with something that was being called FactsFloyd. Basically, it is when an attacker is making use of, probably seeing as it's a fax machine, a company's vulnerable firmware on their fax machine, and they make use of that in order to gain access to the company's network. Because a lot of fax machines out there, although they may seem like outdated technology to most of us, are still very popular in companies. I think
government is the big one. I worked at a company where we had to get data from government companies and be like, yeah, can you send over the Excel file? And we're like, we can fax it to you. And I'm like, oh shit. Government runs on fax.
Yeah, no, I think there's something like over 300 million fax numbers registered worldwide.
Jeez. And
most of those are part of these all-in-one fax printing machines. And so what happened is there was, I'll go ahead and pull it up. I believe it was called Eternal Blue. It was an exploit that was leaked earlier in the year.
Some exploit that was leveraged for
WannaCry. Yes, it was. It was used in WannaCry. I'll go back and I'll just finish this slide first. And so what's happening is they're basically making use of two different buffer overflows. First, when you're parsing the COM headers, and then the DHT markers. And this is basically going to somehow enable some remote code execution. They did test this on HP, like a couple of different HP fax machines. Firmware updates have been released for all of those devices. The problem is all they tested it on was some specific HP devices, so other fax machines from other companies or maybe some other versions of HP that weren't tested on could potentially be vulnerable.
You know what DHT markers are?
No, I'm not 100% sure. I believe it's like just part of the image identification for fax. Because that's what this whole thing is making use of, is like the specially crafted image gets sent over the fax.
Huh.
DHT to me is download hash table, but that's because I torrent too much.
Linux ISOs, man.
Yeah, just so many Linux ISOs.
This one has no music.
Well, it might. We might.
Yeah, I forgot.
Okay,
to
they're
set the audio.
They're explaining it. So
You can mash the volume up button.
Full screen that shit.
Using his exploit script, the attacker can now send his malicious fax to the victim's all-in-one printer fax machine. On the left screen, you can now see the fax is being received by the victim and is sent for printing. To illustrate the attacker's control over its target, our exploit displays our chosen image. With control fully granted,
is that a photo
the
of
attacker
AJ?
is
What kind
now
of looks like
able to
AJ?
infiltrate and search for any computers within the victim's internal IT network. Once the target computer of interest is found, the attacker can now use the Eternal Blue NSA exploit to attack it. As seen on your left screen, the malware is now being executed.
Malware execute. Wow, look at that. I wouldn't have known that if it didn't have a little
Once
red
it has
box.
located a file of interest,
If you
the
ever see that
malware
red
is
box on your
instructed to
computer,
steal it
call
and
IT
send it back
support
to the
immediately.
attacker via his own fax machine.
Wait, so
As we can see
it
on the
faxes it back
right,
to
the stolen
you?
document is now being received.
Well, no.
by the attacker's own
What it's
fax
doing is
machine.
on the victim's machine, it's mirroring what's being done on the attacker's machine. So the attacker has a terminal. I believe that they've specially crafted it so that it also makes a terminal on the victim machine, just for demonstration purposes.
Interesting.
Or are they just trying to like get you to fax something to your home printer so that it can fax that?
They send a fax.
Complicated way.
Well, no. So the attacker is sending a
I know.
fax
They're sending a fax and then it's
to your fax
replicated.
machine, and then that allows for an exploit to run, which gets them
But what if
remote
it's on
code
a
execution
work
on
fax-
yours.
Fax machine, and then what if somehow they try and exploit because you have your linked fax machine at your house?
I'm not understanding what you're getting at.
I'm confused.
Well, no. What,
Literally, it infects the computer, and then that infected computer hacks like someone else's fax machine.
They could do that.
That's
You're-
literally all I'm saying, guys.
oh yeah.
Like a fax machine. bot.
That's what the video made it seem like.
This is probably already out there.
So what it does is they send that malicious fax, then somehow it compromises the computer.
Well, no, because it gets the fax machine already has access to the network, and so they were just using the NSA
Oh.
Eternal Blue
Exploit.
to compromise or to get remote code execution on a computer on that network.
It's a jumping point.
Okay,
It's,
so
Yes.
yeah.
okay.
And so from there, on that compromised computer, they then find a file,
And
send that back to the fax machine, which then communicates it out to the attacker.
Faxes it back.
Okay.
Interesting.
I get it.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that infiltration technique.
You could probably use that to just start word dialing fax machines and then find Windows machines that people use their Microsoft account to log into and then pull the password from the SAM table. And that way you can get a lot of
Probably.
password really fast.
Probably.
The same
That's
table
really
of
Windows.
is that
Yeah, it's
is that S is that
It's like a shadow
LSAS?
file.
Is that what LSAS handles? LSAS. LSAS is the service on Windows that handles all the credentials and stuff.
Yeah, generally.
Okay. I didn't know that.
It's all the same file. It's probably
Unless you haven't updated Windows in like 2 years.
Yeah, or for pirated versions of Windows XP, which are still in production in some places.
I remember when we did that demo, it worked on like 2 people's computers. That's it. I don't remember why.
All right, so this next one, you might notice that the last one was found by Checkpoint. This one was also found by Checkpoint, so this is a bit of a big week for their reveal articles, I guess. This is being called a man in the disk attack. So for anyone here who doesn't know what a man-in-the-middle attack is, basically if two machines are communicating data between them, if I'm an attacker and I want to intercept that data and alter it in some way, I get myself in between them. I intercept the data coming from one party. I might alter it, I might block it, whatever, and then I, continue that along or not, depending on what I'm trying to accomplish. This is very similar. It's being called man-in-the-disk attack. It's an exploit that is possible on Android devices because they do something, or they allow for something in their applications called putting or storing their data for an app in external storage as opposed to purely internal storage. So what happens is an attacker somehow manages to insert themselves into the communication between whatever the external storage location is and the actual application. So what it does is it monitors for some call to the external data. For example, let's say I'm running an app. I believe one of the apps that does this, despite the fact that Google specifically recommends against using external storage if possible, is Google Translate, is an example of an app that does that. And if Google Translate says, hey, I need to check for an update, it goes to whatever the app provider is, I guess Google Play Store in this case. Google Play Store says, okay, and it sends that updated version of the software to external storage, and then that then gets pulled into internal storage a lot of the time in order to actually change the app to the updated version. So what happens is this attacker sees the call from the app to external storage to say, hey, send me the updated version of the app in, and external storage. And so as the new version of the app comes in, it gets altered in some way. Perhaps it's replaced with a malicious version of, say, Google Translate that now will perform some other malicious activity.
So by external storage, this isn't external storage on the phone. This is what
from what I could tell, it was referring to like SIM card storage or whatever, like if you've put in like an extra SIM card or something, or an SD card. Sorry, I always get those mixed up.
Interesting.
Yeah, so they've got a nice little diagram here that explains the flow. They give a list of like different types. If you want, I can show this man in the disk attack on Google Translate, I guess. This one's pretty short.
Good old resolution there.
Yeah. So it's pretty simple, but basically,
Just click the button.
there was a call to the external storage in order to get information for Google Translate, and it got altered to some different version. The article's got some more information. It's got like another video here where they do a demonstration of this man-in-the-disk attack on a browser. But basically, this was just another example of man in the middle, just at a different point. It's not just communication across the internet. This next one is a big warning to the banks from the FBI. They've received information that makes them believe that there is about to be a serious unlimited cash out attack against ATMs. The unlimited means that the attackers are going to perform some sort of exploit, or expected to be able to perform some sort of exploit, which is going to manipulate the accounts and manipulate the ATM machines, which will allow them to withdraw an unlimited amount of cash from them. They are expected to be using because typically what happens when we see these sort of cash out attacks is a bank has been compromised and credit card information has been stolen, or like the information that should be on like the magnetic stripes has been stolen. False cards are going to be created. A lot of times you'll see it put onto things like gift cards. I know Chris has shown something similar where I believe he put like a UC Bearcat ID onto like a gift card or something.
Oh, my IQ card?
Yes.
Is that what that was?
Yes, I think so. And so something similar can be done for credit cards.
Yeah, you can put anything on
Yep,
any
that
card.
one. And yeah, it's just reading in new information onto these magnetic stripes. They just put it in. They've already got the information because that they need in order to get into the account because the bank was compromised and had data leaked in some way. They are not saying who they believe was compromised, but this is also believed is going to be a global fraud scheme. It's expected to probably be one of, if not the biggest cash out schemes we've seen so far. So I guess just keep your ear to the ground. You know, listen for. You might hear about this in the news at some point because there was another scheme that they mentioned, which over the course of 2 years managed to steal over $2.4 million, and that was just considered like from a small scale or small to medium scale bank in I think it was Europe or something like that. So
Very vague. They're expected to use exploits.
they didn't specify exactly how they expect them to be able to do it. I mean, we've seen ATM vulnerabilities which will let you just pull out cash and cash and cash before. I imagine they expect a similar exploit to be used. Is all that they're trying to say.
Yeah.
There's that
You just
exploit.
reminded me of a job listing I saw the other day that said you needed to be familiar with programming languages. It literally did not say anywhere in the post what programming languages, what their stack was at all. It said you would be developing apps, and I was like, can you give me more info?
Yeah, I believe they are trying to be purposely vague in order to not set anything off prematurely, cause any sort of panic, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Have you seen anything on MagSpoof?
About this story specifically,
Or
or
in general with cards?
not really. I mean, a little
So,
bit, but.
The way these work, it's basically a magnet and you run it over a receiver, but you can just take a coil of wire and pipe data through it, and you can do it like stupidly fast.
Yeah.
Sandy K.
You basically, same
Sandy
thing.
K?
You basically get an Arduino and you put a big cooler on it, and you can just pump out as many cards as you can before the machine quits.
Yeah, and then these people just go from ATM to ATM for whatever bank they've compromised. They've got, maybe like a half dozen cards or whatever, maybe even just one card, and they just go through and just take out all of the money available in that ATM. The recommended reading for this week, this first article is about a malware that is using AI in order to try and remain under the radar. The KeyPass ransomware has a new variant that's come out. It seems actually to be fairly simple. It's just like a 256-bit RSA encryption. But they go over a little bit, where they're seeing it spread, so you can check that out. This next one I thought was a pretty interesting article about basically using more bugs put into your program in order to hide the real ones. These guys have written a software which will create thousands of fake bugs that aren't actually going to be real in the program, but they seem real to current bug scanning software. And so the idea is that these attackers are going to see thousands upon thousands of these bugs when really maybe you've only got 100 or so in your software that are actually exploitable. And so just making it take so long, it's just not worth attacking your system. They go in and they do cite some of the more obvious problems, for example, scanning software becomes more advanced and then it can identify the fake bugs from the real ones, stuff like that. They go through and they do admit some of those problems, but I thought it was an interesting standpoint. Kaspersky has put out their APT trend report for quarter 2 of the year. I didn't have a lot of time to actually read through the report itself. I might make that one of my content articles for next week, but feel free to go check it out. Google is apparently decided to track your location regardless of what your location tracking settings are, whether you are an Android or an iOS user. So you can read up on that if you want. Give me 1 second. I do not 100% recall. Oh, right. There was a 0-day vulnerability found for the Mac OS High Sierra. I apparently
Free Linda. What?
put this in here twice. How pre-installed apps are making your phone more vulnerable. I personally am not a fan of pre-installed applications, period, but whatever. I mean, if it saves money, it saves money, apparently. And I know AJ and I have both read up on the many vulnerabilities in POS systems. That's point of sale, not what you think it sounds like.
Kind of both.
So at Black Hat, someone did an article on that, and then this was actually the wrong link. I will need to change that at some point. That was supposed to be an article on how someone was able to use like only 4 hexadecimal characters in order to break the 3-ring. I'm sorry, I'm having a brain fart on the name, but 3 levels of permission, I guess. Or
What are you talking about?
this one guy was able to use like an exploit of just 4 hex characters in order to get what he called God mode on a machine. Basically, there's like the 3 levels. There's like
the 3 levels of the rings and
the 3 rings. Basically, it was a way for him to bypass take a software that was running at the lowest level, use this exploit, and then you can get up to top level permissions.
You don't want to go from top level to bottom level permissions. Because the lower the ring, the closer it is to your
Well, the higher the number, the lower the permission level.
Okay.
So that's what I mean from top to.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So going from 3 to 1, I guess, or 3 to 0.
Interesting. Nice.
So that is the wrong. I will change that link, and I will change it on the website if I need to. But basically, he's going through and using a lot like these unlisted registers in the architecture. Is the idea behind it. It was a little bit. I'm not a big hardware guy, so it was a little bit over my head, but I thought it was pretty cool.
Let's see, are you using your laptop?
I am.
Do you have HDMI or VGA?
VGA.
All right.
Yeah, I know.
No. I was like Cliff's presenting. I remember you had a VGA laptop before, so I got it hooked up this time.
Just as bad as AJ's.
If anyone wants to follow along, thanks to Chris, we have adapters. So,
What is this require?
Either one of those adapters or one that can use that can do packet injecting and sniffing.
I can do packet injection.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, no, toss one over.
See, you're gonna have to set your resolution
What is AJ?
low.
You needed one?
Low, okay. Or to basically just to something 4:3. The highest 4:3. It'll let you do. Okay. My laptop will only let me do 800 by 600 for 4:3, but this can actually go up to like 720p. It's just you have to do. It has to be a 4:3 aspect ratio.
Okay. Let's see what we got here then.
Let's restart this.
Let's see. Have I not switched it over to you yet? Let's see. Did I not plug it in? Oh, there you go.
I remember
The problem is that the sides get cut off, so you'll want to change it.
Oh, yeah.
The aspect ratio.
Alright, so
What is it? It's not the tool you thought it was. This is like.
So you said 4:3.
Oh yeah, there you go. 1280 960. That'll do.
Let's try that.
It's really weird DOS looking.
Oh, dude. That looks like the software my dad used to make.
Communicate to all over stereo.
Keep changes.
Yeah, that one.
Ah, shoot. Did it not change? It's still going over the edges a little bit.
Oh.
Do you want to go?
Definitely change.
You want to try changing? There was one that was 5.4.
Yeah, I'll try that.
Yeah, like. Oops. It's gigantic, but instead of like putting the files, it has a user interface inside of it. Weird.
Never heard of it.
I know, right? It just launches a Python script.
It keeps that you can see. It's barely cut off. It's fine.
Yeah.
That's good enough, probably. Let me just get it fixed on the live stream real fast.
All right, cool.
Format not supported. What the? Give me a sec.
Alright. I got Cali. Do I need to grab any tools?
We will in a moment.
What resolution did you put it at?
Let me check.
The capture
The link
card.
is fixed if you guys want to check that out.
1280 by 10.
Try. Can you open it? Try, and I'm sad to say this. 1024 768.
There's some people articles. Okay.
The frustrating thing is that I get an image for about a quarter of a second, and then Elgato's like, nah.
Huh.
Elgato.
Elgato is the manufacturer of the capture card.
Oh boy.
You wanna try 800, 600?
Yeah, sure.
Another one?
Another one.
No.
Wait, what was that?
800, 600? Let's see if the capture card will work.
Unless, of course, this is something that we've already covered and they're just being late to write an article on it.
Come on, please work.
Well, we're up on the screen now.
Yeah, we're not on the live stream.
Oh.
It's just his desktop environment.
Yeah. It's just GNOME.
Yeah, you know what? This is how we're gonna do this.
Okay. Fair enough.
Let's see, actually, I need to. Hi there, YouTube. That's a pretty good angle. You can set it to a high resolution if you want. Now that it's not gonna work for the live stream
I
anyway.
will absolutely do that. I'm hoping they can remember what resolution it was at before.
That's not gonna. Oh, maybe that'll work. Who knows?
I've never liked Ubuntu's UI.
You got it cut off. You'll probably want to go back to what was it? 1280, 1024. I think that one worked nicely.
Yeah.
It's because it was the only one I can scale properly with.
But
Why I like 16.
yeah. I mean, I just don't like the
Alright.
just how the UI
That's not
was.
so bad.
We can use this.
It's acceptable.
Yeah. Okay. There's no way that we can switch it back to the slides for a minute. Actually,
You could pull them up
yeah,
on your computer.
I'll pull them up. That's a lot easier.
No, don't pull up Slack. All the regular members will see how we shit talk them. Jeez, so many unread posts.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
sign in if you haven't. I always.
Oh shit, son. I love it that we're still use server.slack.com.
Yeah.
You can change it.
The OG.
I don't want to change it.
I don't like that I have to click the
Make it like
the slides direct. Like I can click the Google slides when they get posted, but when I click on the sign-in sheet, it's
Let me
only
make full screen.
an image.
Present in the top right.
Top, oh, yeah. Thank you.
That is weird.
All right.
It's
So,
weird as an image you have
Oh.
the sign-in sheet.
hey. Okay.
Yeah, we can read it.
Yeah.
Close enough.
All right. So we're doing wireless auditing and monitoring tools this week. Yeah, wireless pen tests are a thing, and they're pretty cool. And yeah, that's the only intro that I'm gonna do. So, Sismet is it's an intrusion detection tool for wireless, and it's pretty awesome. I don't really have good pictures up here, but you can load it onto a Raspberry Pi or like a full-fledged server and have that connect to APs. And so every once in a while, when you want to look around to see what all, like if there's any rogue access points or anything, you can just connect to those APs and start capturing from them. Or on a Raspberry Pi, you can use a mobile power supply and then just walk around, and then you can see what all different types of APs and clients are in whatever area you're walking around in. as long as you have a card that supports packet injection and sniffing. So that's pretty cool, and also it's got a really nice interface with the web interface, which is way nicer than the one I've ever used. Airgeddon is a tool that I just tried it out a couple days ago, but it's a lot of fun. It's like the social engineering toolkit, how you have those, just like pick a number and it'll go to that category. It's like that except for wireless attacks. And it is the most script kiddie tool that I've ever seen, and it's wonderful. It makes it so easy. There's a bunch of different tools that you can add into it, and you can do man-in-the-middle attacks and start injecting like malicious JavaScript with beef without ever leaving the interface. It's just really nice. Unfortunately, it only runs on Linux natively, so you actually have to use a Docker instance, but that's not so bad.
You don't have to use it if you're on.
But if you're on Mac OS or Windows, you do.
I got you.
But yeah, and then the one that we're going to be doing today is Wi-Fi. And Wi-Fi is, someone mentioned it during the GitHub Stars Week, and it's pretty cool. I was playing around with it today at my apartment, and it's not as clean as Airgeddon, but it still does a good job. I wouldn't recommend, there's a couple of things that I wouldn't recommend doing with it, especially here, because it does like to de-auth like everything to try to capture handshakes, so it'll just start looking at networks and de-authing all of the clients it can find. But it's still really fun to play with. So for everyone that's gonna follow along, go ahead and put these commands in.
Hey, if you have Kali, it's already installed.
Oh, sweet.
Why does it keep cutting out?
Oh.
Oh, maybe it was something to do with it being full screen. Maybe the resolution changed. I don't know, we'll see if it keeps doing it.
Alright. So,
sorry, YouTube.
So I'm just gonna run Wi-Fi and I put --mac and --no deauth to make sure that it doesn't start deauthenticating everything that it sees, and that it randomizes my MAC address, because I don't want my MAC address.
So it was Wi-Fi. What was it, man?
Hold on, let me pull it up again. Wi-Fi.
--Mac.
Yeah. There we go. Wi-Fi --Mac space --no deauth.
And you don't need to like do anything with your interfaces and stuff. Like you don't have to configure anything like that. Or?
Nope. It pretty much piggybacks off of Aircrack, and will put your interface in monitor mode when it starts up.
So, but I have two interfaces: the internal interface and then the interface with the USB I plugged in. So you should pretty much do you have to like?
You can give it
Yeah, you can do it manually, I believe.
You just do -I.
And then WLAN 1, I guess. So.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm gonna do.
Then once you do that, it will just start.
There we go.
Listing out everything there. And with some of the other and see how there's numbers next to all of them. You hit Control-C to stop it from capturing, and then just select a target.
You're seeing a lot more than I am.
Really?
Like a shit ton more. I'm only seeing 10 different entries right now. Are you getting somewhere?
Yeah, there.
Oh, you got there?
Something like that.
Well, let me see if I can get my.
Let me pop my interface out of monitor. I put it in before.
Let's see if I can just pull up my access point on here.
Just like
I can actually see it. Maybe it's the height difference of like 4 inches. Just means he's getting that many more signals.
signals are all over there.
Alright.
They'll just end a couple inches past his laptop.
They might.
I get more when I hold it up.
Seriously?
Yeah.
They're all the signal is upstairs. I just kind of fizzles out before it makes it down here.
Maybe it doesn't work with these cards.
What? You should just have monitor mode, right?
Which
So you can see all these things. Now what?
So now you can see all these things. So I just set up my phone as a hotspot.
Is that what the %X, %X, %X?
Yeah, that's the name of my phone, which I should probably change. And so right now it's sending deauths to my phone to see if it can knock anyone off of it that would be connected to it. If anyone wants to connect to it, feel free. The password is 12345 today with a capital T. And if you try to connect, it will probably just kick you off.
So did you set it to get deauth?
No, that is the default behavior of Wi-Fi.
Where it just tries to deauth?
It is very much brute force about the way it goes about this. It tries to deauth any clients that it finds on the specific access point that you're targeting, in the hopes that that client will then try to re-authenticate and it'll be able to capture that re-authentication.
What was the password?
So once you find all of your things, you hit Control C.
Yeah.
And then you can
12345
target.
today with the capital T.
Okay, now I can listen for clients.
Oh, well, I captured a handshake
That's me.
and then it crashed.
Aww.
I captured a handshake and the passphrase was not in my dictionary.
Too great.
Alright, well, yeah, so that's what it's supposed to do next. It's supposed to try to clean up the capture and attempt to see if the password's in the dictionary that is built in to Kali.
And what's the name of your wireless network actually do again? You explained this before.
So on some systems that can't handle percent signs or see percent signs as characters that are outside of the normal set of characters, it will see that as or it'll still try to process the character. And so sometimes it just shows up as a different character, or the next one after that, because it's like, it's changing the next, it's hard to explain. Say it's a C, or that's a X for the name, and the percent sign, say that's like 5, the binary for that percent sign is 5 above what the character, what the processor can actually handle for whatever is processing that string. So then it'll add 5 to the binary number for that X, and it will change that character.
Okay.
And you could theoretically use that to inject malicious code into someone if you figured out exactly what it was doing, or what type of machine is trying to connect.
That's your buffer overflow.
Yeah.
Right, and then you have the X90, X23. You got some little
Yeah.
hex values here. What do these do?
Those are all just junk values, but sometimes it crashes things.
Like just by turning it on and people see it and their phone crashes, or their
When they try to connect to it, like Bluetooth devices. My roommate has what?
What have you seen that's crashed?
My roommate has a Bluetooth speaker that crashes whenever it sees it, or sometimes it just reads back the last name of a device that it saw previously. Kind of depends.
But so you're telling me that the hex X90 and everything else is complete gibberish?
Yes.
I don't believe that.
Well, I mean, it is an opcode, but I don't know what the actual opcode does, and
Well, it would depend on the system. I
yeah.
guess.
So that's essentially Wi-Fi. I can go into it a little bit more if you guys would like, but I'd prefer not to start deauthing everyone's devices on the school's network.
So really, it looks like to me it just is a tool for deauthing. Like it just deauths and then it'll just try doing a WPA dictionary attack.
Yeah, essentially, it just streamlines the whole process.
That's what it does.
Yep.
But is that all it does?
Let's see. I know that it you can do Pixie WPS attacks on every device that you see. Let's see.
I think I saw your crack in there.
Yeah, there's a lot of command line options.
I think I fried this Wi-Fi chip.
So
And what?
Does it frighten?
What'd you do?
It really doesn't.
so now I'm gonna try the Pixie attack on everything,
This is,
and we'll see what happens.
Jeez, Chris, I can't believe you're breaking Chris's Wi-Fi card.
And it didn't find anything.
I'm not super.
All right. I guess that's the end of the lab for today.
That was good.
Yeah, nice.
Well, thanks, man.
Very cool.
Yeah, thanks for putting it together, man.
No problem.
Nice. And we're gonna have to keep all of these ideas in mind of everything that we've covered over the summer because we're probably gonna be recycling shit in the fall.
Yeah.
We should recycle the most cyber sexy shit in the fall.
Once we have some servers up that we can like
Connect people to.
yeah.
Oh,
So I got like a stable environment that everyone.
All right, we're done. Cool. Bye, YouTube.
If I'm getting a solid, like 6